Good afternoon, John.
Good afternoon, Ben.
I noticed I didn't say well there. I usually say well. How are you doing anyway?
Disgruntled?
hmm
Disgruntled of Mayfair?
Well, I'm wearing all black today to mourn the loss of our once great nation. Um, I know that kind of took you as a shock that I'm wearing something formal because that's not really my style. But here we are. We are looking at the end of not just democracy, because that ended a long time ago, if it ever even existed. But we're looking at the end of the illusion of democracy today, aren't we, John?
Yeah, we are. It's been a scrappy weekend.
It has. It's been a scrappy weekend of will he, won't he, does he, doesn't he, and then ultimately my prediction coming true and Rishi Sunak appearing, seemingly, we will find out in about half an hour's time, at the time of being live, being installed as our next Prime Minister.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing is ludicrous because we've had a massive election, well, an internal election, hustings and everything.
Yep.
We've had them going around the country. We had them on TV. We had them interviewed.
hmm
And yet the whole thing turns out to be a complete and utter farce because the wrong person won.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they make up this BS about Liz Truss crashing the economy with her mini budget.
No. The former Chancellor crashed the economy when he decided to agree to restrictive practices on businesses and people's movements. When he agreed to provide furlough to make people stay at home, when he agreed to not to give people bounce back loans rather than let them trade, when he then made sure that they would have to pay them back, when he didn't cut VAT, when he didn't cut corporation tax, when he didn't cut income tax, he just and when they stood by and let the economy just go to pot. I think, and who was that former chancellor? What was his name?
Was it Richland Sunak?
I think it might have been.
I mean, I don't think his name's actually Richland.
Yeah.
I just like the way
Oh,
it
and
sounds.
then he orchestrated a coup behind the back of his then alleged friend and Prime Minister Alexander Johnson, to take his position from him, and failed because no one that's a Conservative Party member, no, I didn't say MP, but no one who's a Conservative Party member wants Rishi Sunak as PM because they realise that he is unelectable.
Yeah, well,
He's an unelectable little spoilt rich boy that has no touch whatsoever with reality of the common man in this country.
Absolutely. And with that, John, introduce our wonderful show.
So with that, I'd like to welcome you one and all to this episode 147 of Chasing Dissent Live. 147.
So here we are, episode 147. It is a new week. It is the 24th of October 2022, and we are fast approaching the spooky night that is Halloween. And this couldn't be happening at a more poetic time, could it, John?
Well, I think it's a bit ironic, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really does. It does sicken me though that people can be so manipulated and still not see what's happening to themselves. I mean, there are people out there who genuinely think that Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng ruined the economy.
I know.
I hate to tell you, it takes you more than 2 weeks to ruin an economy.
And it takes you more than a mini budget which would have actually stimulated growth
Yeah.
to ruin an economy. And, you know, Nigel Farage, I want to quote Nigel Farage for a minute, because when that mini budget came out, Nigel Farage said these words. He said, "This is the most conservative budget I have seen in a very, very long time." Right? And you know what? He's right. It was. And yes, its ultimate goal was indeed to stimulate growth, and it would have done that to an extent, I would have thought. Now, the best way I still feel to have stimulated instant growth within the economy was to massively slash VAT, give the spending power back to the consumer, and give them the ability to put more items in their trolley, because then ultimately they would have gone and spent more, because that's what they do. But still, slashing corporation tax, or at least keeping it low and not raising it, would have stimulated growth in so much as businesses would have found it more attractive to come here. And I'm not saying attractive, because let's face it, pretty much everywhere else in the world has lower corporation tax than us.
Yeah.
But more attractive to come here than if they hiked it. And all this is going to do is absolutely wreck, ruin, destroy the little guy, the small business. You know, put the raising corporation tax on top of the raising energy bills. And John, I want to come to you for a second, because you are personally experiencing this.
Yeah, so the energy bill for the gym has gone from 17 pence a kilowatt to 117, sorry, 18 pence a kilowatt to 117 pence a kilowatt.
That's an effective growth of more than 6 times overnight, like that,
Yeah.
in a flash. And then couple that with the raise of corporation tax, and I don't mean to ask so candidly, but I have to. Is bankruptcy on the horizon, John?
It's certainly an option.
What else can people do at this point? And it's not just you that's going to be feeling this pinch. It's going to be businesses up and down the country.
Yeah, and this isn't a question of won't pay. This is a question of can't pay.
Well, you know,
because I mean, I've seen there are coffee shops in the town here, and they're only opening on Fridays and Saturdays now, because obviously they're trying to not spend energy during the week. So they've obviously your energy costs are so ridiculous due to profiteering.
Yes.
Because this has nothing to do with Putin or the lack of gas, which is actually at in such high quantities in Europe that it's now round about 25 pence or 25 euros, whatever it is. So I mean, the price is rock bottom. They've got so much they can't sell it fast enough.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's nothing to do with Putin. It's nothing to do with a shortage of gas, and it's nothing to do with the price of gas. This is purely down to profiteering by energy companies.
Absolutely right. And let's face it, and that's you in a business sense, and let's bring it down, and I don't want to make this about me, but let's look at my personal circumstance and personal situation right now, right? People think, oh, they're running a show, they must be wealthy. If I don't get £117 in the next, 2 days, and I can't find it from anywhere, I haven't got a pot to piss in, right? If I don't get £117 in the next 2 days, I can't pay my electricity bill. It's that simple.
Yep.
We might, present a good-looking, well-rounded show, but not only is my electricity bill doubled, it's also on the studio as well, right? I can't afford this. We can't afford this. None of us can afford what these energy companies are doing to us. And then if you do run a small business, you're being destroyed in corporation tax. You're going to be destroyed across the board, because with Mr. Sunak, you're just going to see higher taxes across the board. Across the board. We are, for lack of a better word, fucked.
I mean, you're a bit of an economist, Ben, and I have done some I've done some training in the economy as well at some point. But I can't work out how a Western monetary system's supposed to survive, right?
Well,
because
you say how.
Let's just.
I can interrupt you right there, because I can tell you how it's going to survive. Because Rishi Sunak also happens to be the architect of, the champion of, and, the lover of a central bank digital currency.
Even forget the central bank digital currency, because that's just a means of controlling the actual flow of the money. But let me give you this perspective, okay? So you go out to work
Mm-hmm.
and you get a wage. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now that wage is taxed when it goes into your account.
Yes.
So the government takes a cut.
Yes.
But that money that came from the company
Has already
was,
been taxed.
well, it's not being taxed by the government because it's not profit because it's used for wages, right?
Yes.
But that money usually came from selling services or products,
Which has also been
which
taxed.
has been taxed. So, and then that money that went back to you is then going to be used to buy services and products,
And it
which
will
is going
again
to get
be taxed.
taxed. So, how can Western money, how can a Western fiat money system ever work? Because surely there's always money being pulled out by the government.
Yeah, there's always been.
And that money's
Yes.
not necessarily been put back in because, as far as we're led to believe, the government's always in debt. So where is that money?
That's the $1 million, ironically, question, John. Where is that money? I'll tell you where a lot of it is. It's in the pockets of lobbyists and politicians and people who are doing backhanders and embezzlement and the works. I'll tell you where it's not. It's not in your hands. It's not in my hands. It's not in the hands of the people that genuinely need it. We're the little guy. We can go screw ourselves as far as these people in charge are concerned. You know, these self-appointed, self-anointed. And that doesn't just boil down to the politicians as well. That takes us to our first story of the day and the self-righteousness of BBC journalists. Should we play this little video?
Let's just go for it. Yeah, go on, play it.
Okay, let's see if it's going to allow us to play it. Croxall is loading. We might be falling at the first. Oh, here we are.
Well, this is all very exciting, isn't it? Hello and welcome to our look ahead to what the papers will be bringing us tomorrow. Am I allowed to be this gleeful? Well, I am. And joining us is parliamentary journalist Tony Grew and chief political...
So that is a BBC journalist, Miss Croxall there. What is she doing, John?
She doesn't seem to be very impartial, does she?
She's celebrating the fact that Boris Johnson has taken himself off of the ballot for Tory leadership.
Yeah.
She's celebrating it live on air.
So this is your national broadcaster expressing a preference.
Oh, really?
Well, it seems to me that's what they're doing.
Yeah, Vaughan says in the chat here, oh, for fuck's sake, the impartial BBC. Well, you're absolutely right, Vaughan. I mean, look how impartial they are. They've never been impartial, have they? They've always had... You know, people will laugh at you for saying the BBC have a left-wing bias, but I would actually argue that all mainstream media in the country has a left-wing bias. All of it. And I mean, look at the difference between Sky News UK and Sky News Australia, for God's sake.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I know, Sky News Australia actually sometimes gives you the truth.
Yeah, and leading on from that, Boris Johnson actually had his 100 backers, didn't he?
And that was confirmed by the 1922 committee, wasn't it?
It has been now confirmed, yes, Boris Johnson had his 102 backers. He could have stood on the ballot. He could have stood for leadership today against Rishi Sunak, and it would have gone to the members, and he would have won.
Well, he would have won, because the thing that I said at the very, very start of this, before we got Liz, was that it didn't matter who went up against Sunak.
No.
Whoever went against Sunak was going to win, because the party membership did not want Sunak as the PM. And with good reason, because most of the party membership are obviously, they're probably well off, middle-aged, running businesses or having been in industry, and have some wherewithal about what it takes to actually run a country.
Yeah.
And they're thinking, this guy's ruined the country in the last 2 years. And that, to me, I hope that's what the Conservative membership were actually thinking when they made their decisions, because you've got to remember, this is the guy who ruined the country over the last 2 years. who stabbed Johnson in the back,
Mm-hmm.
who then failed to beat Liz Truss, right? He then stabbed Liz Truss in the back and generated another coup. And now, in order to avoid any confrontation and to avoid failing again, not the members, but the Conservative Party have colluded to subvert their own rules and just install them without going to the party membership.
Well, this is it. And, you know, what people have to understand is this. The parliamentary party, the MPs, they are supposed to represent the members. That is their job. They're supposed to not just represent the members, but represent their constituents. And they are doing everything they can to avoid going to those members, because if they can avoid it, they get their way.
They can't go to the members, because if they go to the members,
they don't get their way.
They don't get their way, and the only person that would win would be the person standing against Sunak, and that's what Penny's backed. She's backed on the fact that if she gets 100, it doesn't matter how many of the Conservative MPs do or do not like her. If she just gets 100, she would be PM, and in which case PM would be PM.
And that's her campaign slogan, isn't it? Yeah. PM for PM.
Yeah, but I don't think she's going to get there.
I'm worried she's not.
How long has she got?
She's got 13 minutes. And at this time, she had 90 earlier on. But we saw, and I don't have it here, but we saw a tweet just before we came on air from her own campaign manager, George Freeman MP, that basically said, I support Penny Mordaunt. I support everything that she wants to do. I'm with her. But at this time, she needs to concede and back Rishi Sunak. That is her own campaign manager. She's screwed.
She is screwed, because they're running scared. They're scared that Mordaunt actually got to 100. Because if she got to 100, Sunak's not going to win.
No, he's not.
You can't fail twice and still be put in,
Well, the thing is, oh, hold on, sorry about that. I just got a thing about Diwali pop up on the screen there. Well, Rishi Sunak, a Hindu, is going to become Prime Minister on Diwali, which is...
I don't care.
Well...
I really don't care. I don't care. I don't care about anyone's religious affiliations.
No,
I don't care about anyone's skin colours. What I care about is a track record, and his track record is appalling.
His track record is beyond appalling. He is the man that literally bankrupted the country. He could have turned around to Boris Johnson and said, no, this is not right. We should not be doing this. We are going to crash the economy by doing this. We are going to cause suffering for generations to come. And they did it anyway.
And remember, it's not that he didn't know that. Because he did.
Of course he knew. If he's a competent money man, he knew that.
No, but it's not that he didn't know it, right? It's the fact he turned around and actually said that very thing only a few months ago.
He did.
That he knew it was wrong. He said he knew it was wrong. He knew it was going to cause problems, but they still went ahead and did it.
So, I'm screwed, you're screwed, our children are screwed.
So the man's either under the thumb, right, and is therefore unable to push back against higher power, in which case he's not fit to lead, right, or
he did it on purpose.
He did it on purpose, in which case he's not fit to lead.
And you know what? Ever since...
he's just not fit to lead.
So ever since Rishi Sunak appeared from essentially nowhere, right, as Boris Johnson's Chancellor, because before he became Boris Johnson's Chancellor, nobody had heard of him. And ever since he appeared from there, the media have been hamming this guy up as the next Prime Minister. He's come from nowhere, essentially. He's Boris Johnson's Chancellor, and from the word dot, the media were saying, this is your next Prime Minister, this guy is prime ministerial material. He's going to be the first Asian Prime Minister, and but the thing is, it's almost like he believed his own hype, or he implanted those stories himself.
Of course he does. Well, if you want to bring culture into it, and he brought the culture into it because he's the one that says he's a Hindu, right? So if you're bringing culture in it, the endemic culture in India is to lie to everyone to get your own way.
Well, that's not something I can comment on.
Well, I think do you not know what India's like?
I've never been there, I can say that.
Okay, well, fine. But the endemic culture in India is you lie and you tell people exactly what they want to hear.
Okay.
Because you don't tell them the truth, because they might not like the truth. So you don't want to offend people. You just lie and you tell them what they want to hear, and then you go and do your own thing. And that's exactly what Rishi Sunak does.
And speaking of flip-flopping, Nadeem Zahawi.
Again. So only yesterday said he was backing Boris Johnson in the Tory leadership race, and then turns around, given today's news, it's clear that we should turn to Rishi Sunak. Of course that is, Nadeem, because you have been in every cabinet for every Prime Minister so far.
Well, for the last couple of years, yeah.
Yeah. So since he got that job as a czar or whatever it was.
Yeah, the vaccines minister.
Yeah, ever since then, he has been in and about every Prime Minister, including Liz Truss.
Yeah, I don't know why she elected into anything in cabinet.
He's obviously got some powerful material hidden away.
Remember, this is the guy that founded YouGov, right?
Do I actually know what Shalini?
I think she's talking about the culture, the endemic culture within India.
Of course I do. Have you never worked with Indians? Have you never examined their culture? Have you never read about it? Have you never seen Karachi cops? But yeah, of course I do that. That is the endemic culture.
But the one that's got me in
this...
It's
the same with the endemic culture in China, is that you save face.
Mm.
So, and we're coming on to China. If you don't misrepresent me, I'm an equal culture destroyer, because China has plenty of problems on its own, but we'll get there.
We will get there. And speaking of this screenshot, whilst we're staying on it, this slide here, the one that got me, the one that piqued my interest, was Matt Hancock here, who tweeted out, I believe it was this morning, that he's on his way to London to support Rishi Sunak. He's the person our country needs right now as Prime Minister to tackle the huge economic challenges, unite party and country, and build a brighter future for everyone. Is Matt Hancock looking for a cabinet job, John?
Yeah, he's looking to get back in, isn't he? I mean, he's a cockroach.
Yeah, of course he is. You know, the last four letters in his surname, he's a cock.
Yeah.
You know, his parody account, Hat Mancock, is more descriptive of what he actually is. Do you remember when he tried to sort of redo his image, and he was like jumping over little fences and fucking Jesus Christ, Matt Hancock, you are a joke, sir.
So Shalini's come back saying that she was just wanting to know exactly how I knew. So would you agree, Shalini, or would you disagree with my rough summation of culture when it comes to India in the subcontinent?
Well, like I say, I'm not best placed to
no, I'm asking
it.
Shalini if she would agree, because she is well placed to answer that question.
Yeah. Right, I'm going to move on now to LBC News and our good friend who hung off the bridge from Just Stop Oil. So Just Stop Oil protesters have blood on their hands after 2 women die in M20 horror crash following ambulance delay. So because these idiots, Marcus and whatever the other one's name was, Persephone or something, I don't know, decided to hang off a bridge for a nonsense cause, stop traffic, cause delays, cause rerouting and things like that, ambulances were delayed and a woman died in a crash.
Mm-hmm.
Should they be charged? That is the question.
Right. So you tell me, what do you think?
Well, I think that they do have blood on their hands, but it's a tough one, isn't it? Because Spencer says in the chat here they should be charged with manslaughter, perhaps, and perhaps there is an argument for that, yes. But also...
Okay, right. Well, we'll put it this way. So, so your car breaks down on the Dartford crossing, and it effectively blocks the road because somebody runs into the back of it and the road gets blocked. Okay. And the ambulance is stuck in the traffic and can't get through, and the people die. Should you be charged?
Well, no, but there's an argument of intent here, isn't there?
Yeah,
Because
there is.
you didn't intend
There is.
to...
But every emergency service has an alternative route and an alternative method of doing things.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And this is the part that I don't quite understand, because control rooms are generally really switched on. And it didn't come as a surprise that the Dartford crossing was closed. You know, I mean, every control room would have been notified and they would have been told to put in alternative routes. And the same thing happens in London, because you saw this the other day with a fire engine sitting behind the people blocking the road.
Yeah.
Now, fire control is usually one of the hottest. I don't mean that as a pun, but usually one of the hottest when it comes to rerouting their equipment if there are issues, and they know straight away. I mean, it used to be when a call came through to a fire station, it would be printed out and the route would be on the printout. So the driver knew exactly where to go. He didn't have to make up his own mind, and he didn't have to take into account closed roads and bridges that were too low for the vehicle and all that, because the route was printed on each of the thing every time it came out. And I just find it strange that a fire engine that was 3 or 4 hours into this protest ended up behind Just Stop Oil protesters that were glued to the road, you know?
Now, I'm gonna give my opinion here, and it might be quite a divisive one, but I'm gonna give my opinion here. I don't think they should be charged. Now, do I think that their actions had a hand in it? Absolutely, I do. But do I think that they should be charged with directly causing these deaths, or even indirectly causing these deaths? No. But I think it should be pointed out to them at every opportunity, and I think that they should live with it on their conscience, and I hope it fucking haunts them.
Well, you know what? Adam came up with a good point this morning, and I thought, there's merit in what he said. Do you remember what he said?
No, you do.
Well, so Adam said he kind of thinks that maybe these people are funded by the oil companies.
No, there's not maybe. They are.
Right? And they're encouraged to put forward these views in order to make themselves look incredibly stupid, and this generate sympathy for the oil companies.
Yeah. No, one of the daughters of an oil baron is one of the major funders of Just Stop Oil. That was revealed last night. And so
Yeah, but she'll be claiming that because she's been exposed to it, she's totally against it, won't she?
Yeah, of course she is. No, your theory, Adam's theory, should I say, is absolutely, I think, bang on the money. It's that... Okay, let's look at... Okay, let's take our personal situation as an example, right? I'll give you a scenario here. So, when I was doing what I was doing, you know, going around filming, showing people things, and just telling people to use their own initiative, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
We got the crazies coming, and I mean the crazies. The ones that would say everyone's a Freemason, everyone's a transvestite, all of this. And they would say, don't listen to him, listen to us, right? Now, as far as I'm aware and as far as I'm concerned, these people are exactly that. They are being pushed, or at least they are pushing these absolutely mad, insane ideas, so that if anybody that would listen to me or even a you, you know, or anybody like that, listen to a balanced view and use their own initiative, were to start parroting and believing what these people were saying, that discredits anything and everything, because they just look like absolute nutbars. And I think...
Right.
I think that's...
Okay, we've got 1 minute to go, and the last figure I got for Penny was 95.
Oh, 1 minute to go. So 95 people currently supporting Penny Mordaunt.
So, if she's only 5 short, that's a slap in the face.
It would be an absolute slap in the face, because it would mean that Rishi Sunak is automatically Prime Minister because of 5 cowards.
So...
But let's move back to the point I was making here.
Yeah, sorry.
The point I'm making is that if you start to, you know, agree with and believe the absolute nutbars, you are any rational point of view that you may have taken is discredited. It's done. It's gone. People won't listen to you. And that's why, right? And people won't, once again...
that's it. He's a new PM.
Oh, crap.
Sorry to interrupt you again, but that's why we came early, so we would find out on the show. So there you go. Our party is our membership. Whether we are elected representatives, activists, fundraisers, or supporters, we all have a stake in who our leader is. Okay,
Do you?
This is from Penny Mordaunt. These are unprecedented times. Oh, fuck it. How can it change when you're actually reading it? Right. Despite the compressed timetable for the leadership contest, it's clear that colleagues feel we need certainty today. They have taken this decision in good faith for the good of the country. Members should know that this proposition has been fairly and thoroughly tested by the agreed 1922 process. Yeah, sure it has.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not in the 1922 committee. I'm not a Conservative Party member, but I think this process has been far from fair and tested.
I agree.
As a result, we're now choosing our next Prime Minister. The decision is an historic one. It shows once again, well, it's not historic. You just picked one 4 weeks ago. How's that historic? I mean, you're just picking Prime Ministers like one would go into the supermarket and select a bag of crisps.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, the Conservative Party is finished.
Yeah, I agree with you. And anybody that has any sense within that party can see this and will jump ship as soon as possible. And am I saying jump ship to Labour? No, they're just as bad. What we need is a new system. It needs to be metaphorically torn down, rooted up, and absolutely refreshed. And it needs people who don't want to be in charge, right? I floated an idea last night, didn't I, John? I don't know if you saw it.
No.
You didn't see it? Perhaps we pick some constituencies and run. If only for the lols.
No. Well, you can if you want, but I can't afford that.
No, I can't afford it either. So if we were going to do that, we'd have to get some crowdfunding on board.
And two, I'm not prepared to put in the amount of work required to do it, because you've got to kiss ass to a bunch of fuckwits that you have no regard for in order to get them to vote for you. And I'm just not that type of person. I'm sorry. I just don't I really don't like people.
Do you remember the film?
And I'm not going to pretend to like people just to get, into political office.
Do you remember the film?
People are just not going to like me, and I'm still not going to like people.
Yeah, do you remember the film Brewsters Millions?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember Monty Brewster's campaign for none of the above?
Yeah.
I think there's some merit in that.
Well, I've always said that there should always be a ballot on the ballot paper that says none of the above, and if that beats everybody else, then you should have to keep running elections until you get someone who beats none of the above.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. Something has to give, something has to change, and all the while, these dinosaurs sit within this grand palace, lording it over you in Westminster. Nothing will change because, like I said, many of these people, they come into this system and they think, oh, I'm going to help people. And then they get a taste. They get a taste of the club. They get a taste of the bubble. And then all of a sudden, they don't want to help you.
Yeah, well, you can't fix a system like that from the inside, no matter how well-intentioned you are when you go in.
Oh, if I ran, right, I would purposely run in Uxbridge so that I could hustings against Boris Johnson. I would do no work whatsoever to try and win over votes. And I would simply tell people I have no experience, I have no want to do this, but, what other choice have you got? More of the fucking same? More of the same?
Yeah. But as I said, you can't change a system like this from the inside. So really the only way of changing it is by drastic action.
And who has got the brass stones to take that drastic action?
It's a question, isn't it?
And we are not going to suggest that we know what that drastic action is, and we are not going to call for that drastic action. We are just telling you that if something doesn't change, if something doesn't give, then you are going to have more of the same over and over and over again. There is no red and blue, it's all just purple. It's more of the bloody same. Oh, we want Keir Starmer, we want Labour. You're not going to get anything different. You'll just get high taxes, just like you're going to get with Rishi. You'll just get high immigration, just like you're going to get with Rishi.
As I said the other day, I'm surprised. I'm truly surprised that it was the Conservative Party that brought communism to the UK.
I'm not surprised because the writing's been on the wall now for a good few years.
Shall we move on?
Yeah, we shall. To Rochelle Walensky, MD, the CDC Director. Tell us what's going on here.
I don't know what the hell you're looking at.
The next slide.
Yep.
Okay.
Nope.
Yeah, no, that is the next slide after the Just Stop Oil guys. It is.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, this is the CDC Director.
Mm-hmm.
And she put this tweet out.
It says
she got piled on.
Mm-hmm.
For recommending these things to stay healthy.
Well, people have had
and
enough.
You know what? What?
Well, people have had enough.
No, she didn't get piled on because...
Oh, I know why.
because she recommended these things. She got piled on because she left something off.
What, the fact that she just had her fifth and is now positive?
No. She left something off the recommendations. That's why she got piled on.
What did she leave off, John?
Well, she didn't say that people should mask.
Oh, yes, that's right. She wasn't piled on by sensible people. She was piled on by idiots.
Yeah, these people wanted her to say they should mask up.
Why?
And her advice is get an updated vax and get your annual flu vax. Fine, okay, if you want to, that's your choice.
Absolutely.
Stay home if you're sick. That seems eminently sensible to me.
Yep.
And practice good hand hygiene, and that's kind of what we're always told, you know. Wash your hands, stay healthy, you know.
Yeah.
But no, they wanted her to say more.
They wanted
in contravention, which would have been in contravention of current federal recommendations.
Has she acquiesced and done that though?
No.
Well, fair enough, because she knows just as well as anybody else, and I'm still not going to say it because I don't know what I can and can't say on this bloody platform. But we know the truth. We all know the truth.
Yeah, of course we do.
You know, and we won't be praying to the science of face coverings, put it that way.
No.
Hancock prospecting pulls netball support. Please do tell us about this.
Well, this is good. Right. So, the Australian Diamonds netball team has they're in the hole to the tune of like 4 million last year or something like that. So they need money, and Hancock Prospecting has signed a multi-million-year deal with them, or had agreed a multi-million-year contract with them.
Well,
I think to the tune of like 24 million or whatever.
So a multi-year contract to the tune of 24 million.
Yeah. So they were going to get loads and loads of money,
right? And
then one of the players said, well, I'm not putting their emblem on my dress because the guy who started Hancock Prospecting suggested that troublesome Indigenous people should just be, done away with, right?
Right.
Now, I'm not suggesting anything of the kind, and I certainly wouldn't agree with anything like that. And neither, I think, would his daughter, who currently runs this organisation.
Mm-hmm.
But his granddaughter, I think it is. But she's like, well, hold on a minute. That was then. This is now.
Yeah,
so you obviously don't want my money, so...
This is it. That was then, this is now. Just because this company exists, that person who you think said that questionable thing is not at the helm of this company.
Oh, no.
I am.
That's it.
And it's almost an own goal, isn't it? It's an own goal.
Oh, it is an own goal. I mean, it's incredible that people can shoot themselves in the foot for denying things that happened in the past. And now nobody, and if you think about it, nobody's denying this happened, right? We're not saying it didn't happen. What we're saying is, yeah, it happened, but move on. things have changed.
Well, exactly, and just
You know,
because
you did things 20 years, well, maybe you didn't, but we did things 40 years ago that you wouldn't dream of doing now, right? But, you know, things change.
just
And
because,
you can't castigate people for things that everybody did 40 years ago.
and not only
and
that,
then things change as they move on.
but not only that, you can't. Well, what you cannot do is judge societal standards of today against what people were like and what societal standards were all of that time ago. And this is where people are going so damn wrong. Oh, let's cancel this person for this. Let's cancel this for that. Right? Cancellation. First of all, let me talk about cancellation for a minute, right? Because cancellation, it only works if you let it.
We've only got 20 minutes left. We're only on slide 8.
Okay. I'm just telling you. Cancellation only works if you allow yourself to be cancelled. If somebody says you're cancelled and you say, no, that's it. You're not cancelled. Don't bow down to the mob. Don't listen to them. Just go on, do your own thing. And for the love of God, never, ever apologise to them. For God's sake. Because if you do that, they own you. Moving on to Marina Perkis over here, who says, another huge crisis of the government's making, one that will hurt many and cost us all so much long term. Any government that neglects the welfare education of its children had better be saving up for future mental health benefits, bills and justice system. Exclusive. 90% of UK schools will go bust next year, heads form.
Hey, Rishi. That's on you.
Of course it is.
Prime Minister.
Of course.
That's on you.
Of course
you did that.
Well, when you closed them. When you closed them for pretty much over a full year. When you told people they couldn't have an education. And this isn't just going to harm them on this front. The kids that lost out on a year plus education, what do you think that does for them long term moving forward? Do you think many of them are caught up? Because I certainly don't. Hello, Prime Minister.
It's on you, Rishi.
Should we move on?
Yeah, move on. So, I'm not quite sure what my linen are trying to do here because I'm not feeling sympathy, okay?
Right.
I'm not feeling sympathy. I have so little money, I spend 4 hours a week in supermarkets comparing the price of potatoes. One, are you thick? Okay, because it doesn't take that long to compare the price of potatoes.
Well, it depends how many supermarkets he's going between. He could be walking between like 7 supermarkets.
Who cares?
Right.
You know, secondly, he's an asylum seeker.
Okay.
Right? Perhaps you've sought asylum in the wrong place.
Well, the thing is, I can sort of relate to this. As I said at the head of the show, you know, I've got to find £117 in the next 2 days to pay my energy bill.
Hold on a minute. You can't relate to this.
I'm not an asylum seeker.
Exactly, because you haven't left your country yet to seek asylum elsewhere. Right?
No.
Now, when you have done that, then you can maybe relate to it. But you can't relate to this guy because this guy has come from his country, wherever that may be, and his life, and has come to seek asylum here. Now, the question is, has he come to seek asylum or has he come for economic migration?
Well, see, I don't know the answer to that, but I can answer this. I can answer this right here. Go to Asda. They sell a 7.5 kilogram bag of potatoes for £2.50. Right? It's massive, and it gets my entire family through more than a week.
I don't think the potatoes was the point. But...
Yeah, but no, but I'm talking about this exact problem, right? If you want this problem solved, Asda sell a 7.5 kilogram bag of potatoes.
Okay.
Go and buy that.
Let's move on.
Some Bernie, our good friend, she's in the club.
Oh, she is. But Alberta, it's not so much Bernie that I'm interested in. It's the fact that Daniel Smith from Alberta does appear to be showing some kind of remorse and has actually toyed with the idea of pardons for people that were fined.
What do you mean toyed with the idea? That should be happening just like that.
I think she's putting them in place. So
Good.
It appears that she's actually trying to right the wrongs. So it's nice to see a politician trying to make a difference.
Yeah, it is. But how long until she's corrupted?
Well, it won't be long. A couple of years max.
This is my problem.
Speaking of corruption,
Okay.
let's just move on to the next one straight away. Okay.
The CCP.
So, CCP!
China!
China is asshole!
Yep.
Right. So, just to stand in solidarity with Hong Kongers in protest at the brutal criminal violence in Manchester by China's CCP Consul General
And his
and
phone.
his thugs. So, what happened was they started a protest opposite the China's Consul General, consul in Manchester,
Right.
with pictures up of people that were being held illegally in Hong Kong
Yep.
and calling for the release.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm with them on that.
Yep. And the Chinese Consul General himself, right, came out and started attacking them, tearing down the pictures, manhandling them.
Does he also not have diplomatic immunity?
He may well have, but see if it gets better because the video to come, right?
Right.
And then he had Chinese officers from the consul come out in riot gear and attack these.
Where'd they get riot gear from?
Well, they've obviously got riot. Well, they'll have riot gear themselves in their embassy. It's their country. Remember, that is China. You know, it's
yeah,
like
but the second they step off the grounds, they're not in China. They're bringing their riot gear onto our land.
Exactly.
And then what? So should we move to this video?
Yeah, see. So the video brings us back to culture and how it's different. And this is the thing that's really difficult for people to understand because cultures change so dramatically.
Yeah.
This isn't just a country thing, it's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
And when you listen to this guy, just listen to what he says.
Okay, let's have a listen.
Go on then.
I don't attack anybody. I'm the peacefully.
That's not true though, is it, Consul General? You pulled the man's hair.
Yeah, the man is because he's abused my country, my leader. I think it's my duty.
To pull his hair?
Yeah, I think any diplomats, if faced to such kind of the behavior, we should maintain our dignity of country and our people.
Wow.
What do you think of that?
Well, the thing is, I know he's not lying. I
But
know
he is lying as well
no,
because
yes.
he lied and then told the truth.
No, but listen, because in his mind, he's not lied once. Because in his mind, he believes that he should have attacked that person. He should have attacked those people. He should have manhandled them. And in fact, if he would have probably gone further. Put it that way.
He said it was his duty.
And do you know what? Xi Jinping probably impresses upon them that things like that are their duty.
Yeah. Well, but this is again back to cultural because he just said something that was blatantly not true, right?
Yeah.
And he said he didn't do something.
Yeah.
And then 2 seconds later said, "Yeah, I did do that."
No, yeah, but the thing is,
and what they're doing is they're doing this normalization thing where it's okay to do that because I'm perfectly entitled to defend my country.
When he said he didn't attack that man, in his mind he was telling the truth because what he did was defense, not attack. Seriously, this is how they are taught to think. This is how anyone attacking the Chinese dragon. They are fair game. It's like Scientology, isn't it? Right? Anybody attack Scientology, they're fair game. It's cool. And we should move on to the next slide here because China expands its secret police stations around the world. China uses 54 overseas police stations, including in New York City, to hunt down their own citizens. Who's giving this authoritarian hellhole of a country the right to have their own police station in their country?
The right. Nobody's giving them the right. They just do it. There's 2 in London.
I know.
There's 1 in Glasgow operating out a Chinese restaurant.
At what point do we turn around and go, no?
The police don't know anything about it. You go up and ask a cop in London, where's the secret Chinese police station? They don't know anything. You don't know what you're talking about.
Then you should turn around to him and go, well, it's here. You should probably go arrest them.
Exactly. See, this is the problem. The Chinese Communist Party are evil, and I've said this. I've been saying this for 2 years. This is an evil organisation.
This
and
here is not.
This is the party that your current Prime Minister wants to affiliate with.
What do you mean wants to affiliate with? Your current Prime Minister has familial financial ties with their evil.
So
I'm
anyway.
sorry, but that's another thing about Rishi Sunak. As far as I'm concerned, he's a security risk. Because he has family. He has family with actual financial ties to the CCP.
Well, his wife's company?
And his father-in-law, I believe, as well.
All right, okay.
They are financially invested in the social credit system.
Yeah, well, that's why I did say welcome to communist Britain.
And like Shalini says in our chat right now, Jeremy Hunt has ties to the CCP.
We know about Jeremy.
Now, should we be allowing any politician to be anywhere near the echelons of power who have any sort of ties to the CCP?
Well, we did ask you the other day, what's MI5 doing about this? Because they don't seem to be doing much in the way of investigation.
The man is now in charge. Now in charge. Carry on.
Speaking of communism, what do you think?
Is this The Guardian by any chance?
Yes, it is.
I didn't even have to ask, did I?
No, you didn't. So they're now reckon that the time's right for Jeremy Corbyn to come back. And you know what? Labour did much better under Jeremy Corbyn
than they did
under Keith.
They did.
But...
And do you know the reason is? It's not because people supporting Labour now mostly support them because of Corbynism, right? The party had its major, I guess, resurgence because of him. But they're all champagne socialist middle class morons who think that, oh yes, we'll give bread and fish to the masses. But the case for Corbynism has never been weaker, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, the problem with Jeremy Corbyn isn't anything to do with his policies. It was the way that he was unfairly and unjustly tarred with an anti-Semitism brush.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there.
And that's something he's not going to. He's not going to get rid of that, and so he's never coming back.
No, he's never coming back, and do you know what? Labour will never accept him back into the party, and it may be the time for Corbynism, but he's never going to get back in the party. So what's he going to do? Start his own party? Who's going to go over and join that? And how is that going to become the official opposition?
And
not going to happen.
And just to remind you, speaking of the official opposition, this is the guy that did nothing when he was as an official opposition in the last 3 years of overreaching government restrictions.
Yeah, there we go. Look at this from Damian from Brighton. Hey, I don't live too far from Brighton. Hello, Damian there. Keir Starmer did not oppose a Tory bill which allowed state agents to torture with impunity. He did not oppose a Tory bill which cut welfare payments. He voted against an investigation into the illegal war against Iraq. He was a central player in the coup to topple Corbin. And, I'll go one further. He is ultimately directly responsible for the crash of the economy as much as Rishi Sunak.
Mm-hmm.
Because he could have turned around and he could have said no. And if enough people have voted against the closure of the economy, we wouldn't be where we are right now. We'd actually probably be prospering.
Indeed.
But, Keith here, Captain Hindsight, Captain Forensic, Mr. Forensic, forensically help destroy the nation, your life, and your finances. Let's move on. You will need a passport to travel to England after independence. EU. What?
But Nippy didn't think so. Nippy said there would be no new passport or immigration checks at any independent Scotland's land, sea, or air border points with the UK and Ireland for those travelling within it. No, says the EU.
Well, that's assuming that the EU accepts Scotland.
Yeah, the whole thing should be a complete and utter non-event because there's no way Scotland can succeed.
Well, you know what happens, right? So here's the argument, and I don't even have to read the article to know this. If Scotland were to be, allowed to join the EU, they were allowed to join the EU, then they would be part of the Schengen zone. They would accept the euro. And if you are part of the Schengen zone, once you're in a Schengen country, you can then travel passport-free to another Schengen country, and so on and so forth. So what they are ultimately saying is, if you want to jump in...
No, you can't. Hold on. Why would Scotland be part of the Schengen zone?
Do you really think that Scotland's going to get a choice to opt out of it? Do you think they've got any power here?
No, right, hold on. You don't understand, right? Ireland's not in the Schengen zone.
Yeah, Ireland's not in the Schengen zone.
But Ireland's in the EU.
Yes, but Ireland, the Schengen zone came later. The new country joining, Scotland, part of her terms will be that they are in Schengen. I'm telling you it is.
No, it would not.
Yeah?
It would not.
It
wouldn't.
Yeah, no, it would.
I don't think it would.
It would. Because otherwise, there would be no need for a passport to travel into Scotland. We don't need a passport to travel into Ireland. Why don't we need a passport to travel into Ireland? Because it's not in the Schengen zone.
Yes. Right.
So if we were to travel out to a Schengen country from Ireland, we'd still need a passport.
Right. You do need a passport to travel into Ireland.
I can go into Ireland today if I want.
I'm not talking
without a
about you. I'm not talking about you. You can't do it from France.
What do you mean?
You can't travel from France to Ireland without a passport.
Well, exactly. But you would be able to
You can't travel. You cannot. So why is Ireland not? And Ireland's not in the Schengen zone. Right?
Because they opted out at the correct time. Now,
right.
With terms to join. This isn't an argument, John. If they're to join the EU, they will be in Schengen. They will have no choice.
I don't think they would.
They will. And that's why you would need a passport to travel between the two nations. And that's why we can travel from Northern Ireland to Southern Ireland without...
Turkey? Why is Turkey not in Schengen?
Well, Turkey's not in the EU.
Hold on, is it?
No.
Okay.
So if they were not in Schengen, we would not need a passport to travel between because we'd be able to get...
There's only like 12 countries in the Schengen zone.
Yes, and especially new countries with absolutely no negotiating power, like the one that you're sitting in, will be forced to join the Schengen zone. They will have, if they want to be part of the club, they'll have to do what they're told. Scotland is not, it's got no pull, it's got no power, it's got no right to make its own terms. It will be part of the Euro, it will be part of the Schengen, if they are to join EU. And you know what? They'll be gaining their independence from Britain and losing it all once again to the European Commission.
Right, okay.
That is the truth of the matter. She's desperate to rejoin the EU.
I don't think this is just a time thing, okay? So...
Okay, Trudy says no idea what you're talking about, so let me give you...
The Schengen zone is 26 countries, so I was wrong. There's much bigger than I thought it was initially. But for instance, Iceland, Norway, Switzerland and Liechtenstein are members of Schengen, right? But Ireland, Romania, Bulgaria, Croatia and Cyprus are not.
Yeah.
Now,
we weren't.
Ireland was a member of Europe before Croatia. Yeah,
so we weren't members of the Schengen zone either. So the Schengen zone, Trudy, is a group of 26 nations where you can travel between without a passport. So it's a common travel area. You know, like we have the common single market with the EU. They also created a common travel area. So, for example, if I wanted to jump on a plane and fly from France over to Germany, or if I wanted to drive across that border, at no point am I going to be asked for a passport.
Well, you say that, right? You say that, but that hasn't proven to be the case in real terms.
Well, it should be the case.
But it didn't happen because I was asked for a passport when I travelled into Schengen area country.
That was because they erected extra border controls during COVID.
Well, it's, well, there you go. So really, does that mean your Schengen area has no? If it can be superseded, then it's not really valid, then, is it?
Well, no. And going back to this article here, you're going to need a passport to travel into the Schengen zone, and Scotland is going to be in the Schengen zone.
I don't think it would have to be, but I think it would be quite strange to make it so. But having said that, let's move on.
Let's move on to our good friend and fellow broadcaster, one of the worst in the country, Julia Hartley-Brewer.
Just trolling us again.
Name the temple.
From her holidays. She does like to put up her holiday snaps and rub it in your face that she's on holiday.
She goes on holiday about 6 times a month.
Yeah, and she's done this consistently every occasion that she's been able to.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. She goes on holiday and then she rubs it in your face. Oh, I'm here. I'm in the Dominican Republic. I'm over here in the Caribbean. I'm over here looking at this temple. What have you guys got? Fuck all. I can't even pay me electric bill, Julia.
Yeah, and remember, she's one of the ones that caused
the
problem, along with Rishi.
Oh, yeah, because she never held them to account.
She never held them to account.
She never held them to account.
She never pointed out what was going wrong.
No, and she didn't. And let's move on once more to King Charles III planning biggest royal family world tour in history in a bid to shore up his support. And do you know what I say to that? I don't give two shiny shites.
Well, I do, because he's using your money.
Yeah, I know, but they're going to use our money and, you know...
Yeah, so we'll just go on a big world tour before we die. That's basically what he's saying.
Yeah, that is basically what he's doing. It's a nice big round-the-world holiday because, let's face it, they're minting money with his face on. That's not going to last long, is it?
No.
This dude is... Look at him! He's a walking corpse! Look at him!
Sausage fingers.
Yeah.
So, what about Mark?
Mark Drakeford.
Or Harold Bishop?
Well, Harold, let's face it, the man loves a bit of tyranny, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So Mark Drakeford is to break Labour Party boycott of Qatar and travel to Football World Cup. He's going to go sit in some stadiums built by slaves and in a country where you can be executed for being homosexual. Good old Mark.
He's going against his Labour Party, isn't he?
Well, he's going against his Labour Party. He's going against his own so-called progressive values, is he not?
Yeah, he is.
Yes.
And then just remember that this was prepared by Sage on the 22nd of March 2020.
I read this out. I put this up at the very time. This is from an official Sage paper. It says a substantial number of people still do not feel sufficiently personally threatened. I know this by heart, by the way. The perceived level of personal threat needs to be increased among those who are complacent using hard-hitting emotional messaging, and that is what they did to you. Your fear of the last 3 years now was almost entirely unjustified for the most part. It was this hard-hitting emotional messaging that you were afraid of.
And that they also are responsible for the situation you're in just
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And part of that situation is it now costs 15 quid to get a breakfast and a mug of tea.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
At Manchester Airport.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's a hell of a price for breakfast and a cup of tea.
Well, that's at a place called the Grain Loft, so I imagine that's also a Wetherspoons, right?
I have no idea. I have very little knowledge of Manchester Airport.
But still, and that's not even a decent looking breakfast. I mean, look at it.
It's not.
Look at it.
It looks pretty rank.
To me, looking at the massive triangular hash browns, I'd say yes, that's a Wetherspoons, by the way.
So moving on, and this time we have the New York Times magazine.
Okay.
So Sharon here is recovering from atypical anorexia. I'll say.
Right.
That's certainly atypical. It doesn't normally present like that, does it?
She suffered from discarded eating for 19 years before receiving a diagnosis, or disordered eating before receiving a diagnosis.
So she's received a diagnosis of atypical anorexia.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, mate. Whatever you say. That's just ridiculous. And then the mind boggles on that's brought to us from America, and it was pointed out by the New York Post.
Jesus Christ! That's a headline, isn't it? Jesus!
Whatever happens in Kansas really needs to stay in Kansas.
What?
Now, the mind just boggles. I don't know how this works.
Well, the DNA test apparently proves it.
But it's just how. I mean, she must have went scooping. She must have been digging around in there.
So there's two options here, isn't there? And if I was her, do you know what my defense? I would argue this defense straight away, and they wouldn't be able to prove otherwise. Which is, we were in a relationship before he died.
Yeah.
That's what I would go with.
Yeah,
you want to get out of it, Jennifer Burrows. There, you want to get out of this. You say we were going at it before he died, because they wouldn't be able to prove otherwise, would they?
Yeah, I know, but that's pretty.
That's insane. I mean, well,
but she's also accused of having sex with dozens of corpses over the course. How does the mind just boggles?
I mean. Welcome to 2022, I guess. Is she the final? Is that how we're ending? Is that how we're ending this show?
Yeah, that's how we're
Rishi Sunak and necrophilia.
Yeah, I think it kind of ties it up quite nicely.
Really? That's what we're going with?
That's it.
Oh. Well, if you've enjoyed this, then please, if you're watching on any platform and you can, leave a like and subscribe to the channel, right? Please do that at this point. Also, if you think we are worthy of it and you can help us keep the lights on and pay the bills, and I said a couple of times in this show, I can't afford my electric bill, so please consider a donation or a patronage at patreon.com/Chasing Dissent, or a direct donation at ko-fi.com/Chasing Dissent. Only if you think we deserve it, if you enjoy it, if you enjoy the content we provide.
So with that, it's good afternoon from me, John, and from Ben.
See you tomorrow. Bye for now.
Bye.
That's all we've got time for this evening, so it's good night from me, and it's good night from him. Good night. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Stop playing with my bust!
Good night, everybody.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy.
You're a what?
A pianist!
Mwah! Good night, everybody.
You have been a delightful audience to talk. Good night. Thank you.
Oh, my bottom hurts. Good night, everybody.
Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob.
Oh, I did love that hamster so. I took it into bed with me every night, you know.
Good night, everybody.
I think, ladies and gentlemen, I think I have to go now. I've been standing here for a very long time. I think the end of the show must have come and gone.
There you go. That's our solar system.
You forgot Uranus.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you for listening. You've been very nice to work to.
Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.